Son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Ingrid Goes West, the 2017 Stalker movie that I thought was freaking fantastic. I loved this movie. I thought it was just so well done and interesting, had a lot to say about modern society. It was creepy. For some reason, Stalker movies have always really worked for me. I find the concept of them to be really compelling, and I thought this was one of the best ones ever made, bar none, and I really enjoyed the heck out of it. For those of you who don't know what this movie is about, basically it stars Aubrey Plaza, and she's this down on her luck woman who has been previously kind of obsessed with a former friend who has become kind of crazed, and she ends up spending a little bit of time in a mental hospital, and all this is set up in the first few minutes of the film. And as a result, when she comes out, everybody kind of looks at her like a complete weirdo, and she is just having trouble in life, so she ends up becoming obsessed with social media, and she comes across a woman on there that she thinks is just like absolutely fantastic. She decides that she's gonna move out to where she is, get away from all the people who think she's a weirdo, and recreate herself, and hopefully find out about this woman and become a part of her life. And she goes there and she stalks her. And Aubrey Plaza, throughout the entire movie, she's completely obsessed with social media, and she ends up recreating herself, and she ends up making an account for herself and gets her own followers as she becomes more like the person that she has become infatuated with. And the way that her character plays out, I thought was just absolutely fantastic. I mean, she can really creep you out. But the one thing I thought that has made this movie really different than a lot of the other Stalker movies that you see is this is definitely told from her perspective as opposed to the victim, and that makes a big difference. You really kind of actually empathize with her throughout the movie. I mean, you're freaked out by some of her behavior, but you also kind of want things to work out for her, but you also were like, you think she's a complete weirdo. So there's a real dichotomy to her character that I think is really interesting and effective, and really adds a great deal to this movie. And for those of you who don't know, Elizabeth Olsen plays the character that she becomes obsessed with, and her character I thought was great as well. Very nuanced. When you first come across her, she seems like she has everything together. She just seems like a very glamorous person, and you can completely understand why Aubrey Plaza's character would become obsessed with her. But then as the film progresses, you find out that she's putting up a front, and that things aren't as hunky-dory as they may seem. But the chemistry between the two of them, especially at the beginning, before she realizes that there's something wrong with Aubrey Plaza, the friendship that they start to build was great. I mean, there's a real electric energy to the early sequences of them together, and you can and they're set up in a way that really makes a lot of sense. I mean, the way that Aubrey Plaza's character ingratiates herself to Elizabeth Olsen and the people in her life. I mean, it seems like something that you could actually do, and that it could really add you to somebody's life. And then when things kind of start to diminish a little bit, that all feels very realistic. I mean, for the most part, this movie feels like it is very much something that could actually happen. I mean, they have a little bit more outrageous scenes, but overall I thought it was just so well handled, and I really loved the two of them together, and thought it was great. I mean, they just had so much chemistry and just lit up the screen. And there were several other characters that I thought were extremely effective. O'Shea Jackson plays Aubrey Plaza's character as landlord, and you find out fairly early on that he's interested in her, and the way that their relationship dynamic plays out, where she kind of takes advantage of him, and he has this real connection with her for the version of her that he thinks exists, and the way you understand how she sees things and how he sees things, and none of it is really right out in front of you. You just see it through expressions on their faces, and even his character is nuanced in the fact that he doesn't just see her as this perfect person either. There are a few flaws that he sees in her as well. I thought it was all very well handled, and I thought O'Shea Jackson just did such a great job in this movie. I mean, he was so lovable. Of every character in this movie, he was the one that you by far the most wanted to see things work out for. And I mean, he does. He gets pulled into her whirlwind, and you see how that all plays out. I thought it was extremely effective. And then Elizabeth Olsen, like I said, her character seems like she has everything together. And one of the ways in which that seems true is she is married to Wyatt Russell, a character played by Wyatt Russell, who I thought was a very charismatic part of this movie. He is the son of Kurt Russell in real life, and I think he has a lot of his charm and the way the two of them are. There's so much affection between the two of them, but again, things are so nuanced as the film progresses, where you come to realize that there are more flaws in their relationship than you initially see. But at the same time, I mean, they put up this front together, and the two of them I thought were great. But I mean, Wyatt Russell especially, I really enjoyed his character. And finally, the other character that really makes his mark on this movie is you get introduced to Elizabeth Olsen's character's brother, and he's just a complete prick and a jerk, and he treats Ingrid horribly. And as the film progresses, you realize, I mean, right off the hop, you can understand like maybe he would be doing that. She's this kind of creepy person. She comes across in an awkward manner. I mean, if you were introduced to her, your antennas might go up, but at the same time, you also see him being a complete prick to pretty much everybody in the movie. So, you know, he's just a selfish jerk of a character. But at the same time, as the film progresses as well, like, he becomes very protective, and he's a very interesting figure. I mean, right at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing I would say about this movie, is that it's very interesting. It creates so many characters that have so many different layers to them. It's so well thought out, in the way in which, you know, it commentates on our use of social media and our obsession with looking like we're living this grandiose life, even if we're not. I mean, just from beginning to end, I mean, there's so many interesting ideas and compelling characters. And honestly, when this movie came to an end, I was like, oh, that's a bummer. I wish there was more to it. And that's not to say that the ending wasn't, you know, in the right place. It's just I was enjoying the experience enough that I wanted to kind of keep diving into it. And this is definitely a movie that I really badly want to add to my collection one of these days. And I highly suggest it to people, especially if you're a fan of Stalker movies or just drama or whatever. I mean, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. One of the better movies I've seen this year. If I was going to rank it out of 10, I'd give it a 9.5. I liked it that much. So those are my thoughts on Ingrid Goes West. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, if you hated it, if you loved it, whatever, if you've never heard of it, if my review makes you want to check it out, whatever. Other than that, just hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people come check out this review and let me know what they think, which would be awesome, because I love talking to people about movies. And speaking of which, if you are new here or you just haven't done it yet, I would love you to be one of those people. So I'd love it if you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you find out when I put out a new video, you can come give me that feedback and we can have that back and forth. It would just absolutely mean the world to me. Aside from all that, though, have yourself a good day.